Good evening. This is RIT News. I'm David Norris, bringing you a special report on one of the most devastating environmental disasters in U.S. history, the Deepwater Horizon oil spill. Tonight, we'll examine not only what happened, but also how this disaster continues to impact the ecosystem, both living and non-living. We'll also speak with an environmental toxicologist to understand long-term effects on marine life. On April 20th, 2010, the rig operated by BP exploded in the Gulf of Mexico and killed 11 workers and triggered an environmental crisis. For 87 days, oil continually gushed from the seafloor. Nearly 4.9 million barrels of crude oil was spilled into the ocean, contaminating over 1,300 miles of the shoreline. This wasn't just a spill. It was an ecological shockwave, sending toxins to the water, sediment, and food chains of one of the world's most productive marine ecosystems. Let's talk about what this means scientifically. The spill disrupted both abiotic and biotic factors. That's the non-living and living components of an environment or an ecosystem. The abiotic effects included changes in the water chemistry, like lowered temperature, reduced oxygen levels, or an altered pH, and increased toxicity in the water. This made life way harder for microscopic phytoplankton to do photosynthesis and produce oxygen for the marine life. Biotic effects were devastating. Things like fish populations collapsed at a high rate, sea turtles and dolphins suffered from disease and reproductive issues. Birds, like pelicans along the coast of the U.S., were found covered in oil, matted down feathers, and were unable to fly, leading them to death. And even coral reefs, hundreds of feet deep, were poisoned by the dispersed oil. Thank you for having me tonight, David. I'll be getting into how the Gulf's biodiversity was affected and what we're still seeing today. First off, the oil spill disrupted entire food chains. For example, hydrocarbons, specifically polycyclic aromatic hydrocarbons, or PAHs, in crude oil are carcinogenic and linger in the sediments. They bioaccumulate in small organisms like zooplankton and are passed up the food chain. Predators like sea turtles, dolphins, and large fish ingest these toxins. Now, what about the cleanup? While some efforts were helpful, like using skimmers and burning surface oil, others backfired. Corexit, the dispersant used, increased oil toxicity, making it easier for the oil to enter the food web. In theory, making the cure almost as damaging as the disease. So why does all this matter to you sitting at home, on your bed or your couch watching this news? It matters because disasters like this don't stay isolated in one spot. For one, fishing economies collapsed in the Gulf shortly after the spill. They were unable to get high yields of fish due to the declining fish population, which led them to be unable to support themselves. Also, toxins from the oil spill can enter the food and water that we depend on. But most importantly, we are still drilling offshore, meaning that the risk of this happening again has not disappeared. This disaster teaches us that protecting ecosystems means protecting ourselves. It's about holding corporations accountable, demanding stricter environmental regulations, and choosing renewable energy when we can. The Deepwater Horizon spill reminds us that nature is not invincible, but rather resilient. Every community has a role to play in environmental stewardship and coming together for a better world. So whether you live near the Gulf Coast or far from the sea, the choices you make, what you support, what you vote for, or what you consume, ripple outward. This has been RIT News. I'm David Norris, your reporter. Thank you for caring, and thank you for watching.